What if the place meant to keep you safe, your home, turned against you? Haunted house tales aren't just ghost stories. They're about trust, safety, and what happens when the familiar becomes terrifying. Sorry, I'm working on it. Hey there, aspiring horror authors! It's another episode of Sako and the Moon by two self published horror authors walking the path of horror craft and marketing. I am dark artist and designer Sako Toomey, but I also write horror under the name Cass Voight. I do a bunch of other things, but we'll just mention that I'm published 5 times over.
I'm losing track.
I know. 3 standalones, an anthology, and I'm working on a bunch of stuff. Her work's been, no, I'm sorry. And I'm working on a couple of books and a serial. I've been working on my craft for decades, and now I'd like to share my skills with you guys.
I, of course, am Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and I write stuff, I film stuff, and I talk to people. That's the short version of what I do.
Indeed.
Once published, we had 2 movies done. One's not released yet. I'm supposed to say I'm an award-winning screenwriter because I guess technically I am. That's what this is for. But it's weird because I didn't win first place. But the silver medalist at the Olympics is still an Olympic medalist, so I guess that counts.
Awesome. Renmeleon is the creative alias of Anna Marie Salvaggio, a multidisciplinary artist, author, and designer with nearly 4 decades of experience. Her work spans illustration, book and surface pattern design, and crafting intricate paper art like tunnel books and paper theaters. She's also an educator, offering classes on platforms like OutSchool, and engages with her audience through Twitch and YouTube. Her first novel, Stalemate, a paranormal thriller, is set for release in 2025. Based in Kentucky, she shares her passion for creativity through her Ko-Fi, Etsy shop, and distracted by things.
Distracted by the minusing moon.
Yeah, but minusing moon.
I'm just in a position. I'll just stay there.
Okay, that works. Interactive and mail projects. Say hi, Ron.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Yay!
I froze again.
Oh no, your camera went tits up.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why it freezes like this.
I have another friend who does exactly that.
I think it's a StreamYard thing.
I think it is a StreamYard thing because under other circumstances, things like all day.
You're just peeking over the wall.
Yeah, I'm Killjoy or Kilroy.
Kilroy.
But either way it goes, I'm going to be here. So if I weird like today.
Your audio is a little muddy.
Yeah, a lot of things are just kind of weird. I haven't figured this out exactly yet.
Have you tried closing your browser and then logging in again?
I can, mind you. We kind of jumped right into this a little
more
sudden than the norm. So if you want to give me 5 minutes while you go ahead and talk to Ren, and then I'll just surprise and pop myself back in. Let the Popper Night do some things and talk in the comments. Everyone do their things in the comments, and the moon will set and rise again in a moment.
Okay. Okay. We'll see you in a minute. All right. So, hi, Ren.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Been looking forward
What
to
did you have for? Did you have breakfast?
I had liquid breakfast.
Liquid
Definitely.
breakfast. I did the
Liquid
same
breakfast.
thing. Uh, so Nicole popped in and said hi to us peoples,
And Popper Night, my hubby.
and the hubby Popper Knight says hello to the good mornings and breakfast of champions. Absolutely.
Yep.
It's after this thing that I might have some cereal. Though I'm supposed to cut back on carbs, but I don't know if life counts as carbs. I don't know.
I've been doing the glorified gorp with the dried fruit thing lately. It's addictive. I go through it way too fast.
Yeah, I got you.
Especially if I'm writing.
You also sound crunchy? Let me see if I can fix that.
How's mine, Nicole?
Testing? Testing, testing. Or should I exit and come back? Yay, tech while you're live. Yay.
Ren gets apart. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I bypassed my Yeti and just went with my second camera. That seems to work better.
Seems to work just fine.
Yeah. I need to train up on the Yeti mic.
I'm trying not to start the show without Moon. Like, that's what we're doing. I don't know why that capitalized. I'm not yelling, I promise. This is why we do it live. Yeah.
Yep.
Because having mishaps. Go ahead. Yeah, okay. Domestic horror is a subgenre defined by its setting. Homes or spaces that are supposed to be safe, intimate, or comforting. What makes it especially unsettling is the emotional stakes involved. This isn't a slasher creeping in the through the woods. It's your kitchen, your hallway, your child's bedroom. The horror hits close to home, literally and figuratively. Haunted house tales are a classic example of domestic horror, turning the familiar into something creepy, threatening, and wrong. I wouldn't have it any other way. Good ahead. Yeah. Closets, basement, laundry area. Indeed. Indeed.
Basement. I will not do a basement if I have a choice.
If you have a choice.
Yeah, that is a horror movie waiting to happen at all times.
I figured I'd catch up with the show and listen while I was waiting for the computer to completely restart because I had zero excuses.
Oh, okay.
I still blame StreamYard. So that might be a conversation we have post-show. But we're here. So as long as you can hear me, fuck it. Let's just ride.
Let's ride. Your timing is impeccable.
I try.
So, The Haunting of the Bell Witch.
Okay.
In early 19th century Tennessee, the Bell family became the focus of one of America's most infamous hauntings, tormented by an unseen force now known as the Bell Witch. The manifestations were chilling, relentless knocking, disembodied voices that mocked and threatened, even physical attacks that left family members bruised and terrified. As the story spread through folklore and oral tradition, its details grew more vivid, more terrifying, cementing its place in American horror story history. This tale highlights how domestic horror often draws on the eerie intimacy of true story narratives, using the familiarity of the home to make the supernatural feel disturbingly real.
Yes, and my camera is sponsored by Back in the Future Part 2.
I noticed that.
And dark chocolate strawberry coffee.
Ooh.
We're going to just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to keep doing this the whole time. So, like, we're just going to...
Yeah, it works for me.
Besides, this is the part of the show that everyone really likes. It's my voice. So, like, it's your information, my voice, and then what we can gather from our guests. That's what the real solid draw of the show is.
So I have used Streamlabs for my Twitch streams. Having guests is not easy.
Yeah. I have not attempted it yet.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of things about Tennessee. It feels like a very haunted state in general. Could be all the Civil War battles. Yes, indeed.
That is possible.
Absolutely. There were a lot of horrible battles in Tennessee. Absolutely. So I think that I've mentioned this in past episodes, but taking the mundane and the supernatural, the more mundane the character, the setting, etc., and then insert like a horror, the contrast will make it so that the mundane seems more mundane and the horror seems more horrific.
I agree completely. Like, we have discussed this a few times in the past. And whether you're looking at fiction or nonfiction, it's one of those things that really does create that like second level almost of horror. Like, there's your initial scare, like someone can pop up behind you, tap your shoulder, go and boo and whatever, and like it's scary. But there's like something haunting, like the difference of something being scary and haunting. There's something haunting about going to a generally safe place like home or the grocery store and having something extreme happen in a mundane average place or under general circumstances, like a birthday party or like a Christmas holiday show or something. I
like the contrast in the movie The Mist and in the book, about the grocery store, and then everything around the grocery store is horrific.
Yeah, and you can also get that from, let's see, there's The Mist, and then you have like this little category of movie. I don't even know they even have a subgenre name, but A Quiet Place, The Silence, Bird Box, and I mention all those movies together because what you're seeing when you watch these movies is day-to-day life is suddenly dangerous. The things that you and I might go do, like once we stop recording, go to the grocery store, run an errand, to the post office, these little things, just be home. Like right now, we're all filming from our homes. Imagine if something terrifying was to just happen right now. Like, for example, there's a door right over here. You can't see because I'm pointing, which I want to do a lot more when I'm frozen. Right here, as you can see, right here, I'm pointing my camera right at it because no one can see it. There's a door to the outside. If someone was to just break in right now, that'd be terrifying, and that's exactly what we're discussing in general with domestic horror. It's the idea of taking, just like you said, and it couldn't honestly be said any better, taking something so mundane so average and typical that, and then putting something horrifying there. That goes to that second level of scary.
I call it dread.
Yeah, dread's fine. Dread works.
Yeah. The more mundane it is, the more of a violation it is, the more intimate it is. And, we all have our safe spaces, and most of us wouldn't think that, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not going to happen to me kind of thing. And that just, I think touches on that with those movies, things like Scream, things like Quiet Place, which I love. But yeah, it's more unsettling, and it sticks with you longer.
You can add movies like The Strangers and Hush, because in those two movies in particular, the only thing the person does, the victim does, the only thing that they do to incite the attack upon them is exist at home. You're doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. Most of the people who are listening to us will be probably doing this right now. They're just existing at home. They didn't cut a guy off on the road. They didn't have a jaded ex.
There was no trigger.
Provocation.
Yeah.
It used in their advertising in The Strangers, was the closing line, the line towards the end of this. Why are you doing this? And the answer was, because you were home.
Yeah.
And that was what you were guilty of. You were guilty for existing at home, right? Like, how chilling is that? And even worse, in Hush, the victim in Hush wasn't even the initial victim. She just happened to be, not only was she home, she was just the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen the movie Hush, a woman is a victim of, I guess, a breaking and entering, an assault, a guy with a bow and arrow of all things, and
a crossbow, actually.
Yeah. It was a crossbow. You're right. It was a crossbow. Either way, like of all weapons, it's like, okay, I see that as a choice. That is unique. That does stand out. Unless you get like a Robin Hood horror movie, don't put it past them, because right now the Winnie the Pooh people are looking to probably do something just like that. I'm sure that should be an episode all by itself. The Poohniverse, as it's being called.
Mm-hmm.
But he attacks the neighbor, and it's the neighbor running away trying to find help from her next door neighbor, who's our protagonist. The protagonist was just home making dinner. Her neighbor gets assaulted. Her neighbor is attacked. Her neighbor, I don't know how those two are related, if at all. And that's how she becomes a victim. More a circumstance, because our protagonist happens to be deaf. And so it's just like, imagine you have this is your safe space in the woods. It's mistake number one. And then all of a sudden someone brings terror to your door by complete accident. It's insane. Love that movie.
If you would like to hear more about us, and you've already seen it and don't mind spoilers and stuff like that, on Monday ? We can review it. What say you?
I'm down, but let's not forget, we still got the second half of The Substance to do.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We still got the second half of The Substance to do, because let me tell you, if you have not seen The Substance, this is nothing to do what we're dealing with. But if you haven't seen The Substance, ooh, howdy, like, you need to go check that one out. But yeah, at some point, life happens. And as you guys can clearly see, as I'm still apparently taking the world's longest YouTube sip of coffee, stuff happens. And we will get back to the second half of Substance we will do the movie review of Hush, and we still got a whole bunch of stuff lined up.
We still got a whole bunch of stuff coming down.
And we will make it work one way or another, whether it's StreamYard or something else. It's still going to be on YouTube for you guys. So it doesn't matter what we use, as long as you guys are still available to check us out on YouTube. And just since the schedule could be up in the air, go ahead and take a moment to like and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications so that when we do post things, whenever that happens to be, you will be the first one to know. As we were saying.
Yeah.
I've been practicing my plugs. Like I was off for like 4 months and I've mastered plugs.
The Others is a good movie for this category too. If you haven't seen it with Nicole Kidman.
Which one?
The Others.
Oh yeah.
Others. I like to think of The Others as the unreliable narrator.
I can see that.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that movie. It's it's easily in my top 10. Yeah.
So let's dig into this a little bit, and let me ask about the home. We have home security. I used to work for a home security company, and when we're talking about the home, it's our safe haven, it's our space, it's our ground zero essentially for life. What is it about? I'll ask Ren because you're our guest. What is it about your home that gives you pause? Let's go ahead and ask that question. What gives you pause? Like, what's the risk factor? Because when you set up a story, there has to be some sort of an in, right? There has to be an in. So whether it's the neighborhood or a particular neighbor or a legend or a rumor or something nearby. Is there anything in or around your home that gives you pause as far as the disruption of your peace? That'd be a great plot line for a story.
Yeah. My home is sanctuary, especially during COVID. It became like the nest where, we had solace from the rest of the world and all the craziness going on. Still that way. But it's a quiet neighborhood that you let your guard down in. And I've had that with, places that I've lived where the neighborhood's quiet, and I don't think about that kind of stuff anymore because it wouldn't happen here. It's a quiet neighborhood. We actually had something happen the other night that we still can't figure out. We were in the living room, or I was sitting in the living room. My husband was in the bedroom on the computer, and I got this knock, knock, bang, like it was like a police officer trying to bang on the door to get somebody's attention. And I've got a photo of him with a baseball bat about to open the door, and there was nobody there. There was a car like down the street, but there wasn't enough time for that to be connected. And there was nothing outside, no explanation for it. And it was just kind of like, okay, thank you for the reminder that we live in the world and that this house is not,
exempt.
Defense. Well, we have some, I'm a blade girl, so there's blades all over the house. But it's just, it was very unsettling enough to make me start thinking about that kind of thing, especially with the way the world is. And I think having, that peace and quiet and that solace in your home, and having the day-to-day, you can get really out of touch with what's going on, what's possible. And that is really unsettling, is to think that, oh yeah, I am susceptible to home break-in, to, crime, anything like that. I'm very witchy, and I tend to put up barriers and put up different things for my home. So there's certain things that I don't expect to be able to get in kind of thing. But we also watch a lot of haunted podcasts, and which I can recommend a few, ghost hunting, that kind of thing. We actually went ghost hunting on our honeymoon. But you can actually create that as well, as far as the haunted. If you, and I'm losing the word, Val probably knows it.
Shout out to Val.
Starts with an E, and it's basically where you're diving into the haunted stuff all the time, that you actually create it. You draw it and create it. But yeah, it was just, it brought me out of that mindset and back into reality of, yeah, this could happen here. But
from a creative standpoint, you brought up a couple of really interesting parts, particularly as far as things that can disrupt the home. You mentioned, COVID and having a safe place from disease. And I'm thinking of movies like Wreck and Quarantine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, when you're talking about bangs and knocks on the door, unexpected, when there's no one present in the physical, you look at things like Paranormal Activity, and you're looking at the even The Grudge, we kind of discussed the other day, where you can just buy a house like we just did, like me and my family just did, and then something that happened in that home long before you showed up suddenly impacts your family. And of course, this is about horror, and this is about writing. And Sako, has anything similar to what Ren discussed inspired any of your writings, since you're 500,000 times published with 1 million
100,000 times?
100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time the show ends, you'll be published everywhere. You'll have all sorts of kind of stuff out. You guys have to understand, I pick on Sako because she does everything. Sako does everything. The wearer of hats. We coined a long time ago the wearer of hats and the doer of things. I do a lot of random things. She does a lot of random things. We are
Same.
so busy. Ren falls into that category also. So again, I pick on Sako about that. But I have to ask. There you go. This is where she is the wearer of hats, and I'm the doer of things. So Sako, in all of your mini projects, has anything similar to what Ren brought up inspired any of your work? And how did you manifest that or
Okay, so in the apartment of my best friend when I was in college, she's standing in. My friend is standing in a closet with the light out. There is an adjacent window. I have natural lighting. It's going to be a great shot. So I take the picture. When I go to get, mind you, this isn't digital because digital wasn't really a thing yet. I went and got the film developed. And on the picture, there is a fire in the closet behind her. And we learned that there was a fire in the apartment building that killed a little boy. And the little boy started doing like destructive things around the house, around the apartment. So like, after I took that picture, like glasses would be thrown from the cabinet to the floor, like all kinds of, like wacky instances. And we'd just be like, oh, well, boys will be boys, kind of attitude about it. Because, like, I mean, he was there before us, so
that's kind of how you have to deal with ghosts. Like piece of advice: if you ever find ghosts or haunting things in your home, as long as they're not harming you and your family specifically, your best is to just kind of let them be. Learn to adapt, because you are essentially in their space, and it's safer for you there. Trust me.
Like,
I would say make notes, because it could be one hell of a story.
Yeah.
Like I said, and that's one of the reasons why when Ren is telling the story, I wanted to point out, like, hey, this was a movie, this was a story, this was a book. This is where these creative things can come from, turning the what we would perceive as the negative into some sort of positive, which also helps in the healing of dealing with such things.
The
Yes.
Babadook is the kind of like the poster child of that sort of trope. The coming to an amicable agreement with the ghost or the entity that is causing trouble. Granted, that's a spoiler, so if you haven't seen the Babadook, I'm sorry.
If you haven't seen the Babadook, you're too late for us to be cautious about spoilers. You just waited too long.
You just waited too long. You should watch it. You should watch it. The little boy is not an actor, so take that into account when you watch it. But it's good times. And the creative direction in that movie is awesome.
Yeah, we moved into a house and had something already there. I don't think I've even told you that story.
Oh, well, ain't no better place than here. No better time than now. I'm listening.
Just briefly, we moved into a house in Florida, and it was owned by my best friend's sister at the time. And I usually go in, check a home out, and if we're planning on moving in, I'll go and do kind of like a cleansing. When we got there, I kept sensing something in the one closet. When you walked into the house, they had a carport. They had closed off a Florida room, so there's a step up, and then there was a step up into the main house. You had the kitchen here, the living room over here, and there was this wall that you could go all the way around.
Oh, sure, like a divider.
Yeah, so there on either end, there was a closet, and then on the living room side, there was this huge mirror that the first thing I did was take that sucker down because it was from the Civil War, and mirrors are known to trap stuff, and it gave me the willies. I was just like, nope, that's going down. Put it against the other wall. Above an old fireplace. It was an older home, so the fireplace wasn't even functional anymore. My best friend was very sensitive to stuff, and I didn't say anything to her, but had her come into the house. She had the same reaction. In fact, she's the one that helped me take the mirror down, but she sensed something in the closet too, and it was not despair, but sadness. And it was a little girl sitting in the bottom of the closet. Like she'd either been put in the closet or she was just really lonely and hadn't said anything to anybody else. When we got there and I had my daughter with me, I was sitting at the computer and the door, she had the closet door cracked open and she was sitting on the floor talking to somebody. And she said, there's a little girl in here and she's really sad. And my daughter was 6 at the time, I think. Yeah, so that was really interesting, but the mirror had to go. And I've had another thing where we were at a junk shop and the whole room was black. They hadn't turned the lights on in there, and there was this mirror that you could see, and the mirror just didn't look right, and the darkness in the room didn't look right. So we don't even go into the store anymore. But yeah, the mirror and the little girl. Eventually, I had burned some sage, and I had kind of, it's okay if you want to stay. It's okay, if you want to feel sad. I'm sorry that you feel sad. If you want to go, it's okay. You're going to be okay kind of thing. And probably about a week later, we didn't have any sense of her, but it was just like, oh, there's that. We have company.
We have company.
And
And
sometimes
my daughter
we
picked
have,
up on it and is talking to it.
and sometimes we have
Okay.
company means something a lot more deadly and immediate.
Yeah.
Like if the bang bang, knock knock bang on the
Yeah,
door
that was crazy.
would have been somebody, or if it's an axe through the door, like in The Strangers, or somebody with a crossbow, like in Hush.
Yeah.
How do we? Better question is, in Hush, spoiler. We're gonna spoil it soon anyway, so it's fine. She does make it to the end of this movie. It's close, but she does make it to the end of this movie. So the question would be two-part, and I'll ask you both, and you guys can decide how you want to answer it. How do you recover from a situation like that? And as creatives as we are, you guys can discuss, the creative outlets to deal with such disruptions of peace. And then on top of that, how do you view such medias as watching these movies that we've listed, or reading the subsequent books, or things like that, and still go home and have peace?
Ren, why don't you go first?
Depending on the situation, if it's a haunting, if it's a violent attack, that's going to make all the difference. If I have something like that happen in my home, that sanctuary has been violated, I don't know that I would stay there. I don't know that I'd be like, no place is 100% safe. So it's like, okay, depending on the level that we're talking, if it's a haunting, I can deal with that. If it's a violent situation, whether it's a haunting or it's actually somebody coming in and breaking in, that's a totally different subject. And to keep my family safe and to protect my wellness, we're writers. We all have very active imaginations.
Boy, do
So we don't need that kind of crap to set us off. We're already like right there with it. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be house hunting. I think I'd be like,
that is so valid. Sako?
Yeah.
I put up wards. On the upside, so I do a lot of cleansing. I use Florida water instead of sage. And I put up wards, usually using crystals and energy and spell bottles and stuff like that. And that way nothing can come in, but nothing can leave. And then I will try to house the entity in an object of some kind. And then I'll get rid of the object.
How would you get rid of the object? I'm curious.
Give it to somebody that I don't like, or leave it in the woods, or that's what I've done.
So now when Sako gives you a small trinket, like, I have this laying around the house and I want to give this to you. Like, you may not be the best friend of hers you think you are. That's good to know.
Have a Ziploc box.
If I get like a little trinket, if I ever get a mirror from you, Sako, I'm gonna know how you feel about me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, so I have a question.
Oh, love it.
We had a bunch of tech in the beginning. should we do our closing thoughts?
Well, it depends. Here's a kicker about this particular topic. We could do an entire podcast, like like a podcast series on just the things that could disrupt the home.
Yeah.
But our subjects are a little bit more broad than that. We have other things to discuss. This show discussed things like horror and marketing, which Ren will be here in a whole episode about marketing. So when these crazy things do happen to you in your home and you decide to recover by doing something creative, Ren is going to be the one that's going to tell you exactly how you can market that and get that out to the public. But I don't know, Ren, did you have anything else that you wanted to discuss on this particular topic this particular day?
I have more stories, but that's up to y'all.
There is a book behind you that I feel like we could learn a little bit about.
I mean, there's a house on it. That counts.
There's a house on it. That counts. Yeah.
So, Stalemate will be my debut novel. I have 6 nonfiction books out that I've been published since 2006. I went back when I was in my early 40s and got my master's degree in creative writing from Full Sail, specializing in screenwriting. So Stalemate was actually my thesis script. And we had to do deep dives on our characters, do the actual losing the word, psychology tests, the personality tests for all of our characters. We had to do massive backstory research. We had a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I have all this stuff that will never appear in the script. I'm making this a book. So I converted it to a novel. It is in revisions. I'm excited to finally get it out this year because I've been sitting on it for a long time. And the house is pretty much a character as well. Michael Hilpenny comes home. Spoilers. Michael Hilpenny comes home for his father's funeral. They were estranged. He had grown up with his parents traveling the world, and he was basically homeschooled, traveling the world and finding artifacts for museums, collections, and private collections and that kind of thing. They started their own collection, which is mainly housed in the attic, and it's also kind of like the intermediary limbo spot before it goes to where it needs to go. And it starts out with him putting salt around a mischievous doll as I go into intellectual haunts and residual haunts, which a residual haunt is where it's like a memory being played back over and over. Mm-hmm. And an intellectual haunt is where you can actually interact with them. And so there's both in the house. The good ones are throughout the rest of the house. Michael has his own collection that his father had put together that he finds in his bedroom. There's more of the continuing collection. But something attacks Gustav, his father, and he dies. Little more than that, but basically the house has this energy imbued in it from there was a serial killer ages before that a company had come in, torn down the house, repurposed it, kind of like Habitat for Humanity, which this will give you a different viewpoint on going to these rehome stores where they have pulled stuff from different places. But I had heard of, things, spirits being trapped in houses or, houses having spirits, which I totally believe. Having been in and around older homes, they kind of soak up the energy of the people that have lived there, the events around them. There's a really good series on Saginaw, Michigan, on YouTube that I'll have to link y'all to. But the entity is in all parts of the house with the exception of the basement. The basement wasn't renovated. Michael's mom, her father, when they were expecting Michael, they renovated the house and brought in stuff from this home, unfortunately. And so there's a spirit of the original builder of the house that's kind of trapped in the basement now. And then there's the rest of the house that you're not sure what's going to happen, but whatever's in the attic is growing. And Michael has to kind of sort things out. And he'd been sent away under the guise that there was something else wrong. He didn't know what was going on. His parents never told him. And it was actually, he was being attacked by this entity, and they sent him away when he was 11. So he's just now coming back and finding out what actually happened and what was going on. So it's very much the house is being violated, as well as the people in the house. So doing a deep dive on all the paranormal stuff was a lot of fun. I love rabbit holes with that kind of stuff. Yeah, Val's posting Haunted Saginaw with Steve Shippey, who's actually a rapper. He's actually a musician.
If you don't,
there's a lot of really cool stuff.
Shout out to Val, because Val's just like one of the great, like a dope dude. Just like I always give Val props whenever I have an opportunity. Because when you just meet like a really good, solid person, you got to give credit to him.
If you've ever seen MASH, he is my radar. He is 2 steps ahead of me. I'll say something, and then all of a sudden he'll walk in with food, or he'll walk in with
he's
coffee,
right
or
when will Stalemate be released? When can we get our hands on a copy of Stalemate?
My biggest life goal right now would be to have it out by Imaginarium.
Ooh.
That's July. That's
July.
That is
I am
soon.
Deep diving on the revisions, and I am trying not to be a complete perfectionist. And I know that there's going to be stuff afterwards I'm going to be like, oh, I should have done that. But I've had this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
2013.
That's what second editions are for.
I know.
My first book.
I'm actually doing a spin-off. The Gustav and Amelia's story, his parents, is going to be in the Marathonium in the anthology. I'm working with Steven Zimmer on finishing that. So that's kind of actually going to be the lead-in, because it's Gustav and Amelia's story and what happened leading up to Stalemate. So
yeah, you're gonna have to. I'm telling people all the time. I mentioned this in another podcast that I do. You may have not heard of me talking about wrestling once or twice, but even in that episode, we talk about July. We talk about Imaginarium. Last year, we did an episode from Imaginarium, didn't we?
We sure did, and I expect that we'll do that again.
We probably will. So be on the lookout for all of that. But if you get a chance to come out to Louisville, Kentucky, completely unsponsored, Stephen and Holly, change that.
They're amazing.
You should absolutely come down, catch Sako, catch me, catch Ren, catch so many amazing authors and amazing authors and creatives in this space, and be inspired. I hope this episode was equally as inspiring. Sako, do you feel inspired?
I sure do.
Are you inspired to close the show?
From the Bell Witch to smart home poltergeist, haunted house stories tap into fears both timeless and modern. Maybe the scariest thing isn't the ghost, but what the house remembers about you. Shirley Jackson once said, no live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. This Monday we'll be watching, well, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be watching and reviewing on Monday. I'm not going to lie. But this coming Friday, that's tomorrow, we're having Ren again as we dive into her inner workings and tap into her knowledge regarding marketing. Thanks for sticking it out to the end, guys. I mostly hang out on Facebook and Bluesky, but if you Google Sako or Sako to me or Cast Voight, you'll find all of my stuff, my art, my books, my dancing, my websites, etc., etc., etc. Moon?
I'll shoot it to Ren first before I throw all my stuff out there. Ren, where can people find you? Where can we get all this wonderful Renmeleon knowledge?
I am Renmeleon literally on just about every platform online. It's Ren, like Renaissance, myself, and some random guy named Leon. But it's short for the Renaissance Chameleon.
It's behind her.
The probably the best way is either Linktree or even just renmeleon.com.
Which are in the show notes.
All of the things. Publishing company. I run the Kentucky Browncoats and the global group, the SDS. Dragonfly Press Publishing, Two Crows Market. If you're in or around Kentucky and you want to come to two really cool juried handmade art shows, September 7th and December 7th. We're doing those this year. And Imaginarium, I cannot express enough love for that event, which is where I met both Sako and the Moon. And if you get a chance to come, you won't regret it. Lots of stuff going on, lots of cool stuff, including my workshop, which I'll talk about tomorrow.
There you go. Now I can talk about me. I feel better about that now. Because I, of course, am Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. You can go to DewanLHearn.com and find pretty much everything I do. I'm the co-host of this wonderful podcast here. I'm also the host of the Moon Equals Wrestling podcast. You can typically find me on Facebook and Bluesky, though I exist in moderation everywhere else. But I think that's pretty much it. That's what we do. We don't have a thing. We don't have a thing. We need a thing.
We don't have a sign out.
We don't have a sign out.
If you like this podcast, please rate us or like us or follow or subscribe or whatever.
Whatever your platform does.
You can contact us at sakoandthemoon@gmail.com. And I'm going to put it on Renmeleon today. How do we sign off?
Yeah, you're the marketing check. How do we sign off in a way that's memorable?
I was going to say.
Wait. I got a better one.
Yeah.
I got something better. How about this? Give you 24 hours to think of a really cool Sako and the Moon sign off.
Oh.
And you can tell us tomorrow, and everyone else can see it tomorrow when they show up to watch our episode of Sako and the Moon in its regular time.
Sounds
How about that? So now everybody, you don't get a free sign off. You don't get a free one. And you have to watch us tomorrow in our marketing episode to learn how we're going to market our sign off.
I was going to say, I can tell you what mine is.
You know what? We'll just sign off using your sign off. It makes no sense. We'll do it anyway. Go ahead, Ren.
Okay, so on Twitch, normally it's thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you. Stay well, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, take care of each other, and we will catch you in the next episode.
I'm so frozen.
You sure are.